Hey, this is Brian. Welcome back to the Disturbing Illusion channel. On this channel, we don't make wild assertions, but we do ask a lot of questions. And I'd rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned. I want to show you this clip of this video that I saw today on the X platform, and we're going to talk about it because there are some significant questions that we need to ask. And if we don't get answers from the outside, maybe we can search for those answers from within. Check this out right here.
My kids were sitting here eating Cinnamon Toast Crunch, or maybe their favorite, Lucky Charms. Now, I was a contractor for 22 years, and we used to do paint prep, do cleaning and things like that. And I'm sitting there reading a box, and I noticed that it says it contains trisodium phosphate. This, TSP, let's see, trisodium phosphate, harmful if swallowed, eye irritant, skin irritant, if ingested, call poison control. Poison control. Let's see here. Trisodium phosphate. And it's not way down here with the vitamins. It's way up here. That's on Lucky Charms. Cinnamon Toast Crunch. We've got Star Wars. Trisodium phosphate. This is a carcinogen that we're feeding our kids. And General Mills is putting it in all of their stinking cereal. If I sprinkled trisodium phosphate on my kids' cereal, if I put this on there, I would go to prison for poisoning my children. But yet, they're putting it in our cereals for our kids to eat.
Now, I know what the argument here is. It depends on the amount and the concentration and the form. You're talking about household grade versus industrial grade. So I went to ChatGPT, and I know a lot of people don't like this, but it's kind of interesting what you see people put into an algorithm. So I asked ChatGPT, is trisodium phosphate dangerous to ingest? It says just outright, yes, no beating around the bush. Yes, trisodium phosphate can be dangerous if ingested. It's a strong alkaline chemical, often used as a cleaning agent, degreaser, and in some industrial applications. If swallowed, they say, this is ChatGPT, it can cause irritations or burns to the mouth, throat, esophagus, and stomach. Ingesting significant amounts may lead to more serious issues such as nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, and potentially more severe complications like difficulty breathing or kidney damage. Yeah, I would say that's pretty severe. If someone accidentally ingests trisodium phosphate, says ChatGPT, it's important to seek medical help right away. It's always a good idea to use safety precautions when handling chemicals like TSP to avoid any accidents. So then I asked, because if this is the case that, hey, if you get this, you need to seek medical help right away if you ingest it. It's dangerous if ingested. I said, then why is it in some breakfast cereals? Great question. Trisodium phosphate can sometimes be found in small quantities in breakfast cereals and other processed foods. But it's not the same as the industrial strength cleaning version you might be thinking of. In food, trisodium phosphate is used as a food additive, often as an acidity regulator or emulsifier. It helps control the pH balance in processed foods, maintain the texture, and sometimes improve color. That's all it's for. The amounts used in food are regulated and generally considered safe by food safety authorities like the FDA. You could just stop being so concerned, Brian. Yeah, it's dangerous if you ingest it. Yeah, you need to call medical help if you find out somebody did ingest it, but in small quantities in food, it's okay because the FDA says. However, because it's a strong alkaline compound, its use is very controlled, and the levels in food like cereals are far lower than what you'd find in cleaning products. Okay, no duh. So while it may sound a bit alarming due to its industrial uses, when it's in food, it's there in such small amounts that it's not harmful. Still, it's always a good idea to be mindful of food ingredients, especially if you have sensitivities or allergies. So I respond to this. So you admit that trisodium phosphate is dangerous if ingested, that it can cause physical problems in the body, including difficulty breathing or kidney damage, and that if it's accidentally ingested, a person must seek medical help right away. But then in startling contradiction, you claim it's okay to ingest TSP in small quantities because it's considered safe by food safety authorities like the FDA. So are you saying, ChatGPT, that a substance in any quantity that's dangerous to ingest need only be declared safe by the authorities in order for it to magically become safe? How could such an assertion even be considered close to credible? Are you aware that some studies indicate that TSP is a carcinogen in any quantity? Is it possible that the steady rise in cancer rates can be attributed to ingesting substances like TSP, and that not everything the government declares as safe or effective actually is? And the reason I say this is because routinely I see a lot of people say, hey, just cool your jets, calm down, don't be so paranoid, including ChatGPT and whoever created the algorithm for this. Hey, don't worry. Just trust the authorities. They know what's safe. They know it's effective. Don't question it. Just follow along. Don't ask any of these hard questions. Are you aware of how many times the FDA got it absolutely wrong when declaring a product safe? Matter of fact, after you answer my questions, I want you to cite the top 10 times the FDA declared something safe when it actually wasn't, from food to pharmaceuticals. ChatGPT says you bring up a very important point regarding the complexities of safety when it comes to chemicals and additives in food. You're absolutely right that the concept of safety is not always clear-cut, and it's important to critically examine both scientific guidelines and the track record of regulatory agencies. I can appreciate your concerns, so let's break this down. TSP and safety in food. You're correct that trisodium phosphate in large quantities can be harmful and cause issues like irritation, burns, or even more severe reactions in extreme cases. The key distinction here is the amount used in food products. So if you use a little bit of poison as opposed to a lot of poison, you're okay. When added in trace amounts within regulated limits, TSP is considered safe by the FDA and other regulatory bodies based on the current evidence available. However, this doesn't mean that consuming large amounts of it is safe, nor does it eliminate the fact that TSP is a strong alkaline substance that has potential risks. And this right here tells me that when you're eating processed food, you're playing a nutritional game of Russian roulette. Regulatory agencies. The FDA, like any regulatory body, bases its safety assessments on current scientific knowledge. While they aim to protect the public, they are not infallible. Yeah, they're definitely not infallible. And history has shown that some substances once deemed safe later turned out to be problematic. How about extremely dangerous? In some cases, really deadly. This is why there's ongoing research and reevaluation of substances over time. I understand your skepticism, and it's healthy to question such declarations, especially when looking at things like the long-term health effects or new scientific data that may not have been fully considered at the time of initial approval. As for your concerns about cancer and TSP, the potential for TSP to be carcinogenic is not something that is widely accepted in the scientific community at the moment. However, as with any substance, there's always ongoing research into its long-term effects. The connection between chemicals and cancer is a highly complex and multifactorial issue, so it's crucial to take a nuanced view of both the evidence and the regulatory decisions. And then ChatGPT says, you're absolutely right that the FDA has had moments where it declared substances as safe that later turned out to be harmful. This can happen when new scientific data emerges or when the initial risk assessment didn't consider all variables or long-term effects. Yeah, that's the concern right there. That is the concern. And why wouldn't they? Maybe they're incentivized to get this product on the shelf as soon as possible because maybe somebody stuffed their pockets. The most famous examples include things like thalidomide, used in the 1950s and 60s, which led to birth defects, or more recently, the controversy surrounding certain food additives and pharmaceuticals. And that's what we're talking about right here, a food additive. As for the top 10 things that the FDA approved that they later found out were dangerous, we're just going to give you a quick list right here. Remember thalidomide? Thank God my mom was smart enough to steer clear of any and all pharmaceuticals. If you want to see what thalidomide does to little babies in the womb, just type it in on the internet, look at the pictures, and just be horrified. Fen-phen in the 1990s, DES, Vioxx. You remember Vioxx? Now, they say right here, a painkiller that was withdrawn from the market after being linked to heart attacks and strokes, despite being initially approved and widely prescribed. Now, on the issue of widely prescribed, you got to know that Vioxx was an anti-inflammatory that was intended to treat arthritis, and it was the subject of one of the largest recalls in history. After it was approved in 1999, it was prescribed to over 20 million people. Matter of fact, it was one of the most widely prescribed drugs in 2003. The following year, it was recalled. But the dangers of Vioxx were not only made known to the FDA, but they were also made known to the drug's producer, Merck, back in the year 2000. So for 4 years, Merck and the FDA allowed Vioxx to be sold. There's the sodium nitrate approval, BPA. You got the IUD called Dalcon Shield, Accutane, lead in paint and gasoline, and you got the Ritalin/ADHD medications. So getting back to trisodium phosphate and other possibly dangerous chemicals in our food supply, specifically processed foods, what do you think the good way to go would be? Do you think it's a better idea to gear toward whole foods? Or do you think eating processed foods is really no big deal? Is there a gray area here? I mean, what's the nuance I'm missing? Doesn't seem like a good idea to sprinkle your food with known poison, no matter the amount or concentration. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comments section below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. If you want to support the channel further, grab a shirt like this one right here. We live in a world where smart people are silent, so stupid people won't be offended. Become a channel member. If you want to support me further and you don't want to have a whole bunch of money taken out for fees, I have my Cash App link and my Patreon link in the description below. I will see you guys in the next video.